Hey y'all, it's Matthew with EverLogic. And today I'm joined by Charles Myers from our partner Selly CRM. And today we're going to talk a little bit about customer relationships and building those relationships within your dealership. So before we jump into this, Charles, can you talk a little bit about yourself and your journey that led you to Selly?
Sure, Matthew, thank you for having me since we are a part of one company now. So I'm Charles Myers, I'm VP of Sales for Selly CRM. My background is I've been in the auto industry, RV industry for almost 30 years, started in an actual dealership, selling units just like we all do, and then have spent the rest of that time providing various services to dealers, software to help efficiency, sales, things of that nature. So I've built my career helping dealerships like yourselves sell more of the units that we're here for, as well as to keep our customers happy. So thank you for having me. Looking forward to talking about how we can help with customer relationship management.
All right, well, thank you for coming to Jacksonville to hang out with us today. And we want everybody to stay tuned towards the end of this, and we'll tell you about a couple of offers that we have both with EverLogic and Selly. But let's get back into the CRM discussion. And so if you ask 100 businesses what a CRM is, I'm sure you're going to get 99 answers. Of course, there's always going to be somebody that matches up. But in your words, how would you define what a CRM is?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and one I discuss a lot with our various dealers. So to me, a CRM is going to be a tool that is going to help manage the overall relationship with the customers. So, in the Selly world, we do that through enhanced communication. Initially we gather all of your leads in one location. We're a portal for all of that flow in and out. And, we really strive to keep everything organized, keep it easy to use, and then go beyond your regular follow-up and communication that you do today using automation, enhancement, things of that nature, get into some text marketing so that you've got a great workflow, which is key to the entire process. And one of the ways we achieve that is with our integration with EverLogic, so that we're not having to enter our data into multiple systems, that they really do work as one very efficient unit and gives you the very best possible outcome with all of the money you spend to get customer traffic in.
Well, I think when it comes to a CRM, certainly the two of us can agree that communication is key to making not just your dealership successful, but successful use of the CRM. So can you go into some of the important aspects of communication aspects? And if you're a dealer who really isn't used to using software to help them communicate better with their customers, what are some of the first steps that they really need to take?
Yeah, so to me, having an effective process is the key to anything. We can have a very sophisticated system, but if we don't have a process that's defined amongst our sales team and our service people to where everyone knows what should be done throughout the customer life cycle, then that system really is not very effective. So I really like to focus on workflow and efficiency, and in so doing that, having a defined process. And that is something that Selly really strives with in terms of some of the graphical user interface we have. We've worked very hard to have a system that's built specifically for sales and service people to be able to use the system very effectively, and for that process to be replicatable. It needs to be something that's easy to use and can be done very, very quickly, both in front of a terminal as well as on mobile, because let's face it, we're not just sitting behind a desk all day in the dealership. So it needs to be flexible, it needs to be customizable, and we excel at that in terms of helping you define what that process is and then educating your staff on how to use that process very effectively.
Now, we've been through a few demos together, and one of the things I noticed is how excited you are to talk about some of the communications features of Selly. So I really think these tools can be used every day at the dealerships that we serve here at EverLogic, as well as other dealers that we hope to bring on in the future. So can you go through some of those functions and how they can be utilized each and every day?
Absolutely. So from a communication standpoint, Selly is organized to gather as much information about your interactions with your customers as possible. And one of the ways we do that is allow you to both call, email, and text with your customers right in the system. So, one example is, if you have your various salespeople today using their own personal cell phone to text with their customers, there are a few problems with that. One of which is you just don't have access to that communication. If they're off one day, you can't see it. If they go work somewhere else, you've lost that forever. And that communication is very important to retain in the system. So having one system that has all of the information in one location is very, very important, including things like voice recordings for your phone calls. It's great for training, great if a manager has to jump into a deal. So that's the foundation of our communication. Moving on from that, we have things like automated communication for follow-up, because let's face it, there are not enough hours in the day to sit and have our sales team do all of this communication back and forth. So when we know we're reliably sending emails and text that is stage-based, so it's based on the area of the deal that any customer is in, that is very customizable with that communication schedule, then we know we're doing everything we can to maximize that opportunity that we have there. From there, we move into our text marketing. So here we're doing things like sending text-based campaigns based on the customer's unit of interest. So, if, for example, you have a customer who's interested in a Class A RV, and you start sending messages that just got in a used pop-up, that's probably not going to be very relevant or interesting to them and might even turn them off. So we have abilities to refine that messaging down to their area of interest, which makes for much, much more effective communication. And then we go into other full automations for things like price drop notifications and some other things of that nature, to where you've got fantastic, relevant communication going out in a timely manner that does not require manual input there to happen. So you can see how all of that rolls together to be a very attractive way of managing that relationship long-term with our customers.
So you mentioned automation, you talked a lot about automation, but I'm sure we have a few dealers out there who really have never used software that has as much automation, or certainly not as robust automation as Selly does. So can you kind of specify maybe one specific automation in Selly and kind of go through that process for one of those dealers?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the foundation of our automation we refer to as your work plan. And that's based on the stage, or the little milestone in any given deal. Where are we in that deal? And we assign a stage to that. And under each stage, we establish a set of communications based on time frame. What do I want to send instantly? What do I want to send after 3 days, 5 days, etc. Really is far out, because every bit of this is 100% customized. And we get that going during our implementation as we do a consultation with you, understand what your workflow is, what communication you think is most appropriate, email and text, and then we build all of this for you. And then you have the ability to edit yourself, reach out to us, in the future to help edit it by every stage. So simply by keeping every deal in the right stage that you're able to do within Selly, you've got fantastic follow-up happening through those automations.
So let's go into some of the features that maybe are outside of the communication aspect. Can you go into some of the other features in Selly that, again, aren't solely focused on communication, but still engage those relationships?
Absolutely. So one of the best features that we have is our workflow. And what I mean by workflow is, how does the data transpire, or how does the data move through the system? So whether we have an internet lead that comes in that populates directly into Selly, or a walk-in where we're scanning a driver's license to populate that customer into Selly, You're able to then work your deal and get that customer to the point they are ready to make a purchase. And then we're going to use our integration with EverLogic. And in just a few clicks, you've transferred all of that customer's information directly over into EverLogic to be able to finalize your deal. So that integration is a very, very important part of workflow, which is one of the best features there. We also have the lead management we talked about, the automation and so forth. We've also got some enhanced features for things like a desking proposal to be able to produce a professional looking document that has all the various financing options to use to help close your customers, which we can, by the way, email and text that as well if the customer's not sitting in front of you. And then also, we're getting to AI enhancement to the system as well. We already have a bit of AI within our texting capability back to the communication. And our roadmap for 2025 is to continue to build out that AI. And I don't want to get too deep into that today as we haven't built all of it yet. But let's just say AI is not a dream. It is something that is a reality and is continuing to be enhanced in Selly.
All right, well, I won't press you on that, but I will ask, talk about some of the information that you can store on Selly about a customer and how that can also help a dealership as you move the customer through his or her journey within that dealership.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're going to, of course, start with the basics: name, address, phone number, emails, all of those types of things. We're going to attach their vehicle of interest to it, their unit of interest to the system. So, we're tracking everything based on their specific vehicle. If there's a trade involved, that's going to be attached, so we always know what that is. If they happen to look at multiple units, we're going to be able to see that. What all did they look at? Did their desires change as you worked with them there? We're going to have notes and comments in there, a general form for, where we can add things like, what their specific interest is. And then also track things like, the communication. I followed up, I left a message, they're speaking to their spouse, this and so forth. So we're able to go back over time and know what our overall history is. And then we can also store things, documents like driver's license copy, photocopy of insurance, things of that nature, so that we've got a complete profile of the customer. And all of that is attached to all of the communication, all of the calls, all of the emails, all of the texts. So when I go look at a client history, I'm able to, in 2 minutes, know everything that has transpired for that customer, whether it took a week or a year to get to that point. And that is one of the core values of a CRM, is that everything is at my fingertips and I can use all of that information to close very effectively.
Well, you talked about the core values of the CRM. We've talked about the integration between Selly and EverLogic a couple times. We touched on it, but I want to really kind of dig into that for just a moment. So how does all this work with EverLogic? When we're talking to our customers and we want them to sign up with Selly, for them, what is that value of having Selly on top of EverLogic and those two software working together?
Yeah, with my extensive background, in working with dealerships, I've seen many great systems that would have been very, very successful if they simply talk to each other. And when they don't, they become very cumbersome. Then our staff doesn't want to use those tools, because when I'm having to type everything over 2 or 3 times, I'm prone to errors, customers in front of me, therefore it's very cumbersome and it just becomes a problem. So being able to click just a few buttons in the system, and the way our integration with EverLogic works is simply in the EverLogic workflow, there's a button for Selly CRM that we click on, it opens, and then I can search for a customer where EverLogic basically extracts that customer from Selly and pulls it right into EverLogic for the workflow that you're used to today. So, I always say the benefit is not just the speed, but it's the accuracy. When you combine that with the features like I mentioned, our driver's license scanner, that customer's name and information is coming right in. And something that I always hated when I worked in a dealership is having to recontract a deal because F and I misspell somebody's name. We've all dealt it, it's all frustrated, and half the time it costs us money. But when you use this great workflow in just mere minutes, all of that information is transferred for really just a first-class workflow.
Well, as we kind of wind down, and I promise I'm not going to press you on the AI thing, but as we wind down, I do want you to kind of look into the crystal ball and tell me the future of CRMs and how they work within dealerships.
Yeah, and you prompted that well, Matthew. It is going to be AI. Having the ability for an intelligent system to communicate with customers on our behalf, in a way that is very relevant to the customer's interest, that is proven, is going to be where we're going to see communication, grow. We're already seeing it in other industries, and Selly does very much have that in development now. The way I look at it is kind of good, better, best. What we have, had in the past for name and address and all of that organization was good. Where we are today with the automations that we described that is stage-based is going to be better, but it's going to be best once we get to that AI. So what I don't want to do is leave the impression that we should wait until the AI is here. Because every day we're not using enhanced communication and even the staging we have today, we have deals falling through the cracks. And as a CRM user myself, I deal with it on a day-to-day basis as well. And so, that organization is what makes the difference. My suggestion is join Selly now and then come grow with us. So, there'll be special offers for those who do that as well.
Well, since you mentioned special offers, I understand that Selly is going to have a special offer for those who were watching our webinar today.
We do. We do have an offer for our EverLogic dealers that are with us today. And that's going to be, we're going to waive our setup and training fees. If you sign up during this summer, those will be reduced. And I will speak about that in just a moment, if I may. Selly does put a great emphasis on our customization of our system as well as training. We do one-on-one training with every user geared to their skill set and their role so that everyone knows how to sell the most with Selly in order to maximize your benefits. So, we like long-term relationships with our dealers just like EverLogic does. And, we're here to help with that as well.
And if y'all want to take advantage of that deal, you can find a link to have a demo with Charles right there in the description at the bottom of this video. And folks, if you want a deal from EverLogic, we can help you out as well. If you know of any dealership that might like to sign up with EverLogic, please refer them to us. And if they decide to sign up for EverLogic, we'll send you a good $200 that you can use. Thanks again, Charles, for coming by to visit us. It's been awesome to have you. We look forward to really strengthening our partnership over the next few years. And thank you all for joining us, and we hope to talk to y'all soon.